Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Run It Back, the show we try to get things right the second time. In today's episode, we're going to be going over the day 2 draft for the Arena Open that just happened this last weekend. I was lucky enough in my sealed pool to do well enough on a second time around. The 7 and 2 got us into day 2. And so we're going to go ahead and dive into the draft now. As you open up Pack 1, Pick 1, we had a big choice staring us straight in the face right away. We had this Collector's Cage, which is a phenomenal big scorecard, allowing you to hide away something, and if you have enough creatures, particularly in green-white, plays really well, red-white as well. You can then cast something for free. But even after you get the cast trigger, you can still pay 1, tap this, and put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. You can do it at instant speed. It blows out combat. It makes blocking very difficult. Extremely powerful card. We also had this Ornery Tumblewag, which of course is a 3-mana 2/2 mount, adds a 1/1 counter to everything every turn, and then when you saddle, you get double counters. And so these two obviously play very well together. We have the Beastbounder Outcast, Bucolic Ranch, and even a Ravenfell Omens, some Slickshot Lockpicker, some other good cards in the pack, but it was really down to these two cards. Now, in the moment, I thought, well, you know what? Between these two things, this one can end up helping us do a little fixing. I wasn't sure if green-white was going to be open. This plays well in black-white and red-white. This one plays well in green as well as green-red and green-white, but like in the green-blue deck, I mean, it just sort of is on its own. So I thought this might play better in more strategies, but at the same time, like both are extremely powerful cards, really tough to pick between these two. Taking a look at Pack 1, Pick 2, we see a lot of good uncommons, but nothing really for us. As we move down to the comments over, we see a Throw from the Saddle and a Trained Airings, both of which are great. Now, if I take the Ornery Tumblewag, I probably start with the Throw from the Saddle. But if I go with the Collector's Cage, I think we go with the Trained Airings, both of which are phenomenal cards, but obviously they just play a little bit better. This one still plays well in white-black and white-red, in white-blue even. Like, it's just a great card. And so if I'm going to stick with my white card that I have here in Collector's Cage, I go with the Trained Airings. Same goes for the Throw from the Saddle. If I have my green card, I stick with that. Notably, we also see a Desert's Due, a Murder, a Terminal Agony. There's lots of good cards in this pack. Moving on to Pack 1, Pick 3. I was really, again, debating between these couple things. Now, if I had the Ornery Tumblewag, maybe we do look at the Cactus Folk Sure Shot and go into green-red, but the Tumblewag and the Trained Airings obviously both play well in mounts. Buried in the Garden is a phenomenal card. It also allows us to end up splashing something. So if we end up going to the green-white strategy, we could splash something big later on, which I thought was pretty great. A little low on Betrayal at the Vault. Bridal Bighorn also fine. Total good pickup we can pick up later. Pack 1, Pick 4. This is where things got a little bit interesting. We've got this Raucous Entertainer here. Steer Clear, both fine. We went with the Hard Bristle Bandit. I could see a Gigapede. These are all perfectly reasonable cards. We went with the Bandit because it kind of stuck with this idea that we might just kind of have green as a little side color into some bigger cards later on. As we move into Pack 1, Pick 5, I wasn't really thrilled with anything. Stagecoach seemed filler to me. I haven't really loved it very much. Arid Archway doesn't really play well with the whole Trained Airings, Hard Bristle Bandit sort of strategy. So we went with the Lonely Arroyo because if we're going to be playing an aggressive deck, I like the 1 damage ping. It also is a crime trigger for the Bandit and, also splashes well into blue, which in theory can play well. I would play like a Watcher of the Damned. I'd probably play a gem, maybe a bounce spell. I might play a This Town Ain't Big Enough, but I thought if these were the cards I'd be picking from, I wanted to pick the land first so that way we could stay open if possible. Pack 1, Pick 6, I was looking at the Vigilante, I was looking at the Bucolic Ranch, I was looking at the Drover Grizzly, and I thought we wanted to make sure we got our first big mount. Also plays really well with the Trained Airings and the Drover Grizzly having 3 and 4 toughness, so that way we can pick up some 2/2s later, and for the Collector's Cage to go off when we need it. Pack 1, Pick 7, this is our first big dud pick. I looked at the Sandstorm Verge, I looked at the Outlaw Medic, Ariet's Lullaby. I kind of ended up where we were at, and even though I don't much love the Lullaby, it does play fine. I don't like it in this sort of strategy, but it does really well in a race, right? If we're attacking and they're attacking, we can gain 2 life, destroy their target tapped creature. Also plays really well with the Sterling Keykeeper if we pick one of those up later on. Pack 1, Pick 8, again, not too thrilled with much of this. I don't really want to map the frontier in this sort of style. Outlaw Medic is fine. Maybe we could have done the Rustler's Rampage, but I've been pretty low on this card as well. Overall, this pretty middling pack. Pack 1, Pick 9, didn't really see anything come back. I wasn't going to take an air yet, so I took the Ravenfell Omens just to see if maybe black was the splash color off of this. And of course, seeing the Forsaken Miner come back as well, that was pretty interesting. So we grabbed the Forsaken Miner and maybe looked into a bit of a black splash. I wasn't interested in Doc Arlock, even though we have the blue sort of fixing ready to go, because, there's not a whole lot that I want to plot in this style of deck unless we're going to go heavy into green-blue. By that point, having the Train Airings and the Collector's Cage, the Buried in the Garden, I wasn't really sure if we wanted to go green-blue, so we kind of stayed on the black speculation. Skullduggery, again, an amazing pick here. And then pack 1, pick 12, not a whole lot. Probably should have taken Boombox, but doesn't matter. I'm not playing any of these cards. Pack 1, pick 13. We took the Razzle-Dazzler. Maybe we take the Breaches just for the gems. I don't think we're playing either of those cards. And we round out the pack with a Swamp. Moving on to pack 2, pick 1. Not a whole lot for us in the pack overall. We do see another Train Airings, and of course it's Outcaster Trailblazer. We could have taken something like a Lotus Ring if we wanted to continue on the fixing plan or wanted to move into black-white, but Outcaster Trailblazer just plays really well with things like the Drover Grizzly, and even though Allo Alchemist was here, we have a lot of 2-drops as it sits. We want more Trained Airings, we want more Hard Bristle Bandits. Allo Alchemist being more of a pump spell is good, but I don't think it's better than the Outcaster Trailblazer. Pack 2, pick 2, coming off the idea of the Trailblazer. We could have taken this Wrangler of the Damned, but we were still on the idea of more so going black than blue. We hadn't seen a whole lot of blue-white. Archmage's Charm was probably too much, and this Drover Grizzly just plays so well with the idea of Outcaster Trailblazer. Pack 2, pick 3, we had a lot of good red cards, and I really thought about considering splashing red here for things like Eartha Joe or Form a Posse. So we did settle on the on-color green-white land, and I just thought that this was going to be so necessary for whatever other color we were going to be splashing. We wanted to make sure that our green-white fixing was up to par. Pack 2, pick 4, Decisive Denial was in the pack. I wasn't too thrilled about that. Omen Port Vigilante, again, is fine. Phantom Interference if we wanted to move into blue, but that really wasn't where we wanted to go. And then, of course, the Stagecoach I'm a little bit lower on. Having a Voracious Varmint, something that's just a 2-mana 2/2 with Vigilance and being able to sacrifice itself to blow up an artifact or enchantment, big game. It just punches above its weight class here, which I've really liked. Pack 2, pick 5. We do see a Baron Bertram Greywater. We do see a Blood Hustler. We see a Rictus Robber. These are incredible black cards. Absolutely incredible. And if this Mystical Tether wasn't here, this is probably the sign that we're moving into straight Obzon at this point. Maybe taking the Blood Hustler just because it plays so well and having big mana. But we did end up settling on the Mystical Tether just because I wanted to cement myself into green-white. I really liked it. I think it's great. Still seeing Drover Grizzly and Bristleback Sentry suggest that green is still open here as well. So Mystical Tether was the pick. Pack 2, pick 6, we saw a Vraska Joins Up. Somebody in the AGL server had just posted about how Vraska Joins Up plays a little bit better than originally anticipated. I've never actually played this card, but having 2 Drover Grizzlies kind of made some sense to me, and so I thought maybe we could end up playing this. But the Holy Cow just probably is going to be a better overall pick, and maybe seeing if we can wheel the Vraska Joins Up. Pack 2, pick 7. I didn't want a second Outlaw Medic. I wasn't that interested in these cards. Splashing the Decisive Denial made some sense to me, especially because on turn 5 we can Bury It in the Garden something and then still hold up the Decisive Denial as a counterspell. Pack 2, pick 6, we saw Pack 2, pick 8, we saw a Rictus Robber here as well, and apparently people are lower on this than I am because I think this card is awesome, super, super good, but I think, moved officially out of black and into sort of this blue. We grabbed Lush Oasis and the idea of maybe grabbing a Bonnie Paul or something similar later. Pack 2, pick 9. Not a whole lot here for us. We did take the Treasure Dredger, maybe in the idea of staying open in pack 3 of picking up some big black card as well. There's lots of big bombs. We could have taken the Stop Cold, but having the Mystical Tether, the Aria's Lullaby, even the Decisive Denial, I thought that we would be okay as far as removal, and I didn't want to splash blue for removal. Pack 2, pick 10. We see a Loan Shark. I could see the Sterling Hound, but I like the Loan Shark here. I think it just plays pretty well. Pack 2, pick 11. We grabbed a Form a Posse. This was on the wheel with the Eartha Joe and the Electro Dominance. I thought this might also be worth a splash off of the Hard Bristle Bandit and the Buried in the Garden, just going wide. Pack 2, pick 12. There's an Armadillo here. Probably not playing that. Pack 2, pick 13. Not playing this Vault Breaker either. We did end up wheeling the Vraska Joins Up on the wheel here, and it did get sided in at some times and siding out the Form a Posse. So, I thought this was a great value pickup. Pack 3, pick 1. I wasn't really thrilled with anything in this pack. Canyon Crab wasn't it. Hell to Pay, I suppose, not great, right? Drover Grizzly we already had 2 of. Could take the Take of the Shield, but I thought we might be able to get another one. And I thought this Badlands Revival was going to be big enough. It was pretty easy to splash off the Buried in the Garden and the Hard Bristle Bandit, and God forbid we might even use like the Outcaster Trailblazer or something. But this value was too much to pass up. I thought it was pretty great. Pack 3, pick 2, we ended up seeing a Stubborn Burrow Fiend. We could have taken like a Visage Bandit, I suppose, but there's really nothing in that green-white outside of the Burrow Fiend that really makes sense. This card is incredible, super good, really happy with it. Pack 3, pick 3, another phenomenal pick that we had to choose between. It was either Pest Infestation or Bonnie Paul. I thought Pest Infestation kind of played similarly to Form of Posse, and because we already had the Form of Posse and we just picked up the Badlands Revival, that Bonnie Paul might play a little bit better in that idea that we could either discard at some point, or, you know, if it dies, we get it back with the Revival. I just thought that we'd be able to attack pretty well with it, and overall, Bonnie Paul is an incredible, incredible card. Pack 3, pick 4, we were past a Miriam here, and I thought that played really well. We didn't have as many mounts as I would have liked, right? We have the Trained Airings, 2 Drover Grizzlies, and that is it as far as mounts are concerned. Oh, the Stubborn Burrow Fiend. We have 4 total mounts, so I would have liked to see the green-white uncommon mount as well, but I thought this played well. You know, obviously Miriam's pretty great, getting your things bigger as they go. Pack 3, pick 5, we looked at a Hard Bristle Bandit, and that's what we took just to continue to splash some of our things that we were splashing. Really happy with this pickup. Pack 3, pick 6, I didn't like anything in this pack, so we took this Territory Forge just for 40 gems. Pack 3, pick 7, I was looking between a Bristling Backwoods or a Mirage Mesa. We ended on the Mirage Mesa because even though we were splashing this Form of Posse, the Mirage Mesa allowed us for double blue. It allowed us for the black source. It could be the red source if we needed it. I thought the Mirage Mesa was it. The one consideration I had here was I took all these black cards out. We weren't playing them, and I think we were about 4 or 5 playable cards short at this moment. So taking a land was a little bit sketchy here, but we did end up picking it up. At Pack 3, pick 8, I looked at Hypothesizzle because we were already splashing blue for Bonnie Paul. We were already splashing red for Form of Posse. And Hypothesizzle I thought was going to be a perfectly fine card. We weren't really going to be doing anything with Satoru outside of the Badlands Revival, and everything else just plays a lot worse than these 2 cards. So we ended on the Hypothesizzle. Pack 3, pick 9. Again, not a whole lot for us here. We could have played Seize the Secrets. We could have played Raven and Fell Omens. We already had taken 1 Raven out of the deck already, so I wasn't going to play that. The Festering Gulch helps us splash the Badlands Revival, so I picked this card up again. Pack 3, pick 10, our Visage Bandit Wield, which I thought was great. Playing that along with this Lone Shark down here meant that we were going to be splashing some blue, and happy about that. Pack 3, pick 11, we played a Steer Clear over the Phantom Interference, mainly just because blue was a splash color. Didn't think we were going to have it on 2. Pack 3, pick 12, we picked up an Ankle Biter. Then on Pack 3, pick 3, we picked up a Phantom Interference, and I was fine picking it here. And then we rounded out with a Forest. Taking a look at the deck, as you can see here, we're playing a lot of early drops in either the Hard Bristle Bandits or something like a Trained Airings or a Stubborn Burrow Fiend with Miriam. Some really aggressive 2 drops here. And then following them up with some Drover Grizzlies and Outcaster Trailblazers was great. Even a couple premium removal spells, Collector's Cage, and then topping out with things like Bonnie Paul and Badlands Revival. These were all great things. The tough part is that you kind of have to draw your deck in that order. If you draw things like the Mystical Tether, Buried in the Garden, and Bonnie Paul, sure, you've got that, but there's nothing to really go on in the early game. Now, if you draw all Hard Bristle Bandits and Holy Cows, Form of Posses, these are the things that you may not necessarily be able to cast, maybe Decisive Denial. Those really didn't play out as well as I would have hoped. We had to cast Phantom Interference just for 2 mana a lot, and it was okay. Aria's Lullaby was fine, but not great. And so even though our top end was awesome, with Collector's Cage, Outcaster Trailblazer, Bonnie Paul, Badlands Revival, really happy with these. Our sort of middle cards, playing this Outlaw Medic in the mounts deck was just not really where we wanted to be. So I was happy with about half of our card quality, not too thrilled with the other half. We ended up not having any mana troubles at all. I thought the whole mana thing was perfectly fine, no troubles there, but we did end up running out of things to do quite often where we were in top decking mode, and unfortunately Bonnie Paul stayed in our deck 3 out of our 4 matches, and of course we lost those 3 out of 4 matches just because we didn't end up getting the things that we wanted to. One thing that I really did like was Visage Visage Bandit with Outcaster Trailblazer into literally anything else that had some stuff. I think we drew 9 cards at one point by having the Outcaster Trailblazer and Visage Bandit plotted, and so we cast the Trailblazer, cast the Bandit, cast the Drover Grizzly, drew into another Drover Grizzly, and just deployed 4 threats, won the game the next turn. It was sick. If you want to have your drafts reviewed on Run It Back, feel free to send me an email at runitbackmtg@gmail.com. Otherwise, send me a message over in Discord with the 17 lands data. Happy to take a look and see what I can find. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.